got a brand. Looks like we have a non-weight-bearing lameness of the right front. Let me go grab
and
some.
the left hind has this terrible wound.
Yeah, let me go grab some Banamine and see if we can get him.
It's branded. It is a Standardbred.
Sorry, buddy. Let me give you some pain meds. 76. So upper end of
Like
normal is in the
double
upper
what it should
30s.
be. So basically double what it should be.
We've got a lot of injected. There's a lot of pressure on this vessel.
Yeah.
Boy.
So people have been trying.
Maybe.
Possibly to help him.
Good boy.
So you're fine.
But I just think there's something.
We gotta get that wrap off.
Dying flies, yes.
I can't tell if that is pus or someone put nitrofurazone.
I'm gonna go back.
Hey, bud.
No.
So it looks like in an incident unrelated to his legs, he broke his facial bone.
Yeah. He also had a scar on the right hind that looked like almost like a driving accident, like from a cart. Do we have clippers?
We do.
Yes. I can see if I could shave that brand down.
Good boy. Oh my goodness, it smells very putrid.
It smells very, very bad.
Good
Only
boy.
imagine being that close to it.
This also appears to be associated with this joint. So when we look at the hock joint, I know based on anatomy that our top joint is about here and middle and distal. So we're right at the level of the hock joint, but when we have kind of serous discharge draining out here, it makes me concerned that we're leaking joint fluid. What a good boy. What I really want to do with this guy is gauge his response to IV Banamine. So Kimberly, if you don't mind, let me fly spray him a little bit better over here.
Yeah.
And let's pop him in a stall so we can listen in just a second. I know, buddy.
I'm gonna go in a stall for just a minute. Rest.
2012, so he's supposed to be 12.
So see the abduction of the elbow? He's trying really hard to just, yeah, you're a good boy. He's trying to distribute his weight on his left front, right hind to take weight off his left hind, right front that are painful. Thanks, Jordan. Perfect. Okay. This horse is a relatively young standardbred gelding. His heart rate was in the upper 70s, which is indicative of discomfort. He's got two pretty significant lamenesses. His right front and left hind both have severe extensive wounds on them. I'm concerned that the one in the left hind is communicating with the hock joint and leaking joint fluid. He smells very infected. We pulled blood. We're going to run a complete blood count on him and try to see how long that infection's been going on and how severe it is. And most importantly, we're going to wait and gauge his response to pain medication. He got 10 cc's of Flunix and meglumine IV to reduce pain and inflammation. And if we can control his pain long enough to do more diagnostics, I would like to do that. If his heart rate stays really elevated and if we have catastrophic changes on that CBC, we may have to make a call on him. But I'm hopeful that maybe we can give him a chance. He would definitely need surgery for multiple locations of his body, but he's mentioned some pain, he's had some pain meds, and we're gonna let him just decompress for a few minutes and check that heart rate again. He is still wants to be non-weight bearing lame on this leg. So our heart rate has gone from upper 70s to 48. 48 is still elevated from normal, but that's a significant improvement. So I'm happy about that. He definitely is still painful on the same legs that we noticed, but initially he wasn't willing to even rest with his right front leg on the ground, and now he's willing to do that. So I'm really happy with his response to pain meds, and this buys us time to do a little bit more diagnostics. Dr. Gina is running his blood work right now, so when she gets back up, we'll have those answers. He's a very good boy, and interestingly, probably unrelated to his leg injuries, it looks like he's fractured his orbit or his facial bone on this left front. So this guy's lived a rough life for how young he is.
So we just have blood work back on this beautiful boy. Unfortunately, things that we were expecting are not what are showing up. Like we would expect him to have high lymphocytes or high neutrophils, and they're actually low lymphocytes. So his white cell count is low, and he's also anemic, which means his red blood cell count is low. And it doesn't seem that he's mounting an appropriate immune response, or he's exhausted it at this point. It's hard to say. And then he has some abnormalities on his chemistries, which is it could mean starvation fasting, or it could mean other things. We're really hoping to have radiographs to kind of confirm what his joints look like. So we're gonna discuss it, further evaluate him, and decide what we can do for him, if anything.
So what's concerning in this case is that he smells infected. He's pouring pus from his wounds. So we would anticipate that his white blood cell count would be elevated, and his white cell count is actually below normal, which can mean a lot of different things, but in most cases it means our immune system isn't mounting an appropriate response. And then he's also anemic, really low platelets. It's weird that his CK is low. I wonder if he's had repeated muscle trauma and his body is just less responsive.
We all gathered together and discussed his prognosis and long-term treatment, long-term care, and everything about him. And unfortunately, last act of kindness has been decided upon for him, just because we believe it's involved in the joint. And if it's a septic joint, that could also involve the entire body, and it's just really painful. And long-term wise, he would be battling pain with that joint for a long time. So unfortunately, he's so beautiful and so young and so sweet. That has been the unanimous decision for him. We were debating during that day, because we didn't have our radiograph equipment. We were going back and forth about whether or not he was someone who was treatable. He came off the trailer, and Dr. Lydia immediately listened to his heart, and his heart rate was at 76, which is very high for a horse, indicating pain, and he was doing bruxism, which is when they grind their teeth. So she gave him 10 cc's of IV Banamine to see if that would reduce his heart rate or control his pain, and it did bring it down, and he did start eating, but he still had bruxism. And we were really, really, really concerned with those wounds. They had an odd coloration to him, which we couldn't decide if it was his body reacting to him or if it was some kind of medication, because it appeared that somebody had been trying to treat them and maybe just couldn't get on top of it, or they were just so severe that they couldn't appropriately treat him, and that's why he came to us. So we ran his blood work and then came back in the afternoon to discuss it, and he had a pretty notable lymphopenia. Our low range is 1.5 and he was 1.14. He was anemic, which means he had low red blood cells, and he also had low platelets, which did not make him a great candidate for surgery, because we would also have to debride those wounds and severely treat him for that, and do as much surgically as we could, which he was not, based on this, a good surgical candidate. And his chemistry showed that he had icterus, and he had a high total bilirubin, which indicates it could be prehepatic before the liver, could be liver, or it could be post-liver. But his other liver values were not elevated. So the yellow coloring that we saw, that we were wondering if it was a wound treatment, was most likely jaundice or icterus based on these results. And then when we examined him more closely, it appeared that he systemically was yellow or icteric or jaundiced. But based on his blood work, I would either say it was probably before the liver or after the liver, not just the liver, which could mean that something is destroying red blood cells before it gets to the liver, which is concerning, or something is causing a problem after the liver has conjugated it, which we won't go into all that stuff. But based on his blood work and his physical exam findings, he was pretty rough past treatment that would not be, he would have to be really severely, aggressively treated. And without our radiograph equipment, and based on the appearance of the wounds and his blood work and the level of pain he had. At that time, we all agreed that the last act of kindness was the best option for him. And then when he was gone, we did a necropsy and further examined those wounds, and they went straight to bone. So even if we had kept him and got him down here into our surgery room, once we had gotten into surgery, we would have realized that those wounds were down to the bone, and that would have been past the capacity of our equine hospital here, and he would have had to either have been referred or put down at that time. So that was definitely the right call for him, that he was definitely in a lot of pain, and those wounds were so severe that we would have been unable to correct them for him.